Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Gaelic Statsman podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Hurley, and it is All-Ireland Camogie final weekend to preview this weekend. It is the last inter-county weekend of 2024. The men's football, the hurling, the ladies' football, and now the Camogie are all coming to an end. So what a weekend to end it, obviously, with the Cork and Galway game coming up in the senior Camogie final on Sunday, as well as the intermediate and Premier Junior finals as well. Delighted to be joined for this episode by Waterford Player Niamh Rockett to discuss this weekend's Camogie finals. Before we get into the action, I wanted to mention our sponsors today at Capture Athletics. If you want the best gear around, check them out if you haven't already. So yeah, Niamh, it's All-Ireland final weekend this weekend. So how are you feeling going into it? It should be a good enough senior final between Cork and Galway, two rivals obviously, along with Kilkenny have been probably the trio that have been dominating the sphere of Camogie in the last few seasons, other than your own Waterford reaching the final last year. So you looking forward to the final this Sunday?
Yeah, definitely I'm looking forward to it. I think that there's a lot of hype around Cork at the moment and how much they've really, I suppose, cruised through the whole championship this year. You know, they've been very, very good. They've been consistent. They've had a variety of scores. They've only conceded 1-5 in an average per game. So, like, you know, they're really, really a force to reckon with. I do think it's not going to be completely all their way. I think that Galway have had the number on them there the last couple of encounters. Cork and Galway, they've kind of had tit for tat there the last couple of games. So I really do think it'll be a good game. And I think that Cathal Murray will definitely throw something at Cork that they're not going to expect. And I suppose it'll be Cork's toughest test this year already. Galway are after coming against ourselves and in the quarterfinal, and then a narrow win over Tipperary in the semi-final. So they've kind of had, I suppose, the harder side to draw. I know that worked in Cork's favour last year when they bet Galway and Kilkenny. So it'd be a really, really interesting game. And I think it'll be a very tactical game as well, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get into the game in details and all that, obviously your own Waterford team played against Cork in the Munster final earlier on the year. They obviously also came up against, as you mentioned before as well, against Galway, the All-Ireland quarter-final in Croke Park as well. So it just as one matter of interest, who would you find tougher to play against, Cork or Galway?
I suppose both of them had kind of number on this last couple of years. We haven't actually beat Galway in a competitive game in whatever way the draws have been in Camogie. We've gotten the upper hand on Cork already last year in the Munster round robin. So I do think that Cork are very, very physical, and they're very, very tough, and they're very, very good. They're very, very well organised. So I do think tactically going up against Cork are very, very tough. But Galway, we haven't beaten them, so I'd say they'll be relishing that. Joe, they can't really put them to bed and say no, they're one bit better than the other. But Cork, I think, given their performance this year, and I suppose kicking on from, I don't feel as bad last year after getting beaten by them in the All-Ireland final, seeing how really well they've progressed on this year. Cork, they're just definitely a team to beat.
Definitely so, and obviously that is the first game we'll get stuck into. It is Cork against Galway in the All-Ireland Senior Camogie final on Sunday at 5:15 p.m. on RT2. I was hearing the echo from Rory Noonan during the week. The late time at 5:15 is because of the Olympics, apparently, so that's the reason for the late time on Sunday. So should be a good final, but look at the match at the group stage between the sides. It was actually Cork 2-16, Galway 1-7 down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Just in your opinion, Niamh, do you think that has any relevance to this game on Sunday, or do you think a completely different Galway team will turn up to Croke Park on Sunday than the one that turned up to Páirc Uí Chaoimh earlier on in the championship?
Yeah, I think that Cork or Galway in All-Ireland final are a different ballgame to Galway in a group stage. You know, to be fair, I don't think Cork or Galway will be taking much heed to what happened in the group stages as opposed to what's going to happen on Sunday. Galway have the experience of being in All-Ireland finals. It's not going to be a rookie team coming out. They've experienced players and a mixture of youth and experience throughout their team. And I suppose Cork, I don't think they were showing Galway weren't showing their full hand anyway in the group stages. I think Cathal knew that there was going to be a time they were going to meet them down the line, I presume, and he knew they were qualified already, so he didn't want to show his hand. But I think it'd be a very tactical game. But I think given Cork's, like, they're just raining, they just can't stop their winning streak. They've only gotten beaten once this year, you know, across league, Munster and championship. So, like, I think that it'd be an interesting battle now on Sunday. But Cork are definitely a team and the on-form team to beat. But I wouldn't be taking much heed from the group stages.
Definitely. So we'll have a look at Cork first and get stuck into them. So the journey to the final, as Niamh mentioned there, they've average defence an average concession record of 1-5, as Niamh mentioned earlier on the chat, but they beat Wexford earlier on the campaign by 115 to 1-6, hammered down in the second game 421 to 1-7, beat Clare 219 to 1-4, then beat Dublin in the group stage 422 to 5 points, beat Galway, the aforementioned game there, by 216 to 1-7 in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and then beat Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-final 417 to 9 points. They've averaged a score as well of 318, as well as conceding an average of 1-5. They've been impressive all championship long. Look at their scores here. Amy O'Connor has a total there of 4 goals and 28 points. Katrina Mackey has 3 goals and 19 points. Orla Callahan has 3 goals and 7, including 2-2 in the semi-final versus Dublin. Fiona Healy has 12 points. You have Saoirse McCarthy there with 1-7, including 1-2 in the semi-final versus Dublin. Fiona Keating with 1-7. You have Saoirse McCarthy with 2-3, and she's coming in off the bench as well, which could be a weapon that Cork use on Sunday as well. Clodagh Finn is another bench kind of a player with 1-5 as well. So look at the scores from Cork and look at their concession record and everything like that. Is there a case that, this has been mentioned on many podcasts during the last few weeks, that this Cork team are building kind of a dynasty? We've seen that with the Limerick hurlers over the last few seasons. We might see that with the Kerry ladies footballers. We see it with the Dublin ladies footballers as well, the Dublin footballers during the 2010s as well. Could we see a kind of a similar kind of trajectory, kind of a thing happening with the Cork Camogie team if they obviously get over the line on Sunday?
Well, you're looking at their team, and you're looking at Ashton Thompson wasn't starting last year. You're looking at Orla Callahan that wasn't starting last year, and they've just started in seamlessly and been like a powerhouse for them. Then you look at Libby Copter, who's injured, and Maeve Callahan, who's injured as well, and Palomaki and Izzy Regan have just started in for them. So they're just all around. There's never really one player. If they lose a player, there's someone else that's going to slot in their position, which I think is the trademark of a really, really good team. Against Cork last year, we lost one of our best players, Vicky Faulkner, who was going to be doing the man marking job last year, and it was a big blow to our team. But if you look at the likes of Cork, there'll be someone else that just step in and do the job. So I do think that's a trademark of a very, very good team. You see in the likes of Limerick this year, Dara Donovan not been there, and another person slips in. Colin O'Neill comes in. There's just the Bull comes in as well. There's just all these players just keep popping up for them, and it's just conveyor belt. So I do think Cork are definitely, they're getting better than they were even last year. Saoirse McCartney was starting last year. She's only coming on as a sub now this year. They're just all around their pitch. They're just very, very good. And I do think that every year they're building. So like every year they have kind of a conveyor belt, but also their management stay the same. So they have the same style of play with the last 8 or 9 years that they're perfecting. There's no point in trying to beat them in their style of play. You have to come with something different to play Cork. And it's the same with the likes of Limerick. They have their style of play, but how many years did it take a hurling team to overthrow Limerick? Even though they knew the style of play, knew what they were going to bring, it took them a long time. So I do think that there's trademark there, or there's a pathway there for Cork as long as they keep progressing the way they're going, and I suppose they're underage progressing through as well.
I was discussing this kind of a thing with Dan Casey on Red FM last Saturday as well about Saoirse McCartney in particular. Seeing as she scored that goal, obviously, against Dublin in the semi-final, and she's been a massive player for Cork over the last few seasons, obviously scored a goal in the All-Ireland final as well last season, the first goal of the game, which was absolutely crucial. Is there an argument that Saoirse McCartney should start this game, or do you think Ger Manley's playing a kind of a smart move to have her as an ace card on the bench to bring her on if things go right on Sunday against Galway, which it easily could happen because Galway are a very experienced team? What would you do in that situation? Would you keep Orla Callahan in the starting 15? She's played very well, obviously, but would you bring in more of an experienced player in Saoirse McCartney, or would you leave McCartney on the bench just as an extra weapon if things go wrong?
Yeah, definitely as an extra weapon if things go wrong. I heard Maeve Callahan is also going to be there as well. If needs be, she'll be back from injury as well to come in. So like Orla Callahan scored 2-2 at the last stage. If you're looking at that full forward line, Amy O'Connor, Katrina Mackey and Orla Callahan, it's deadly for forward. I think it's like 10-25 out there that they score from play between them, never mind the freeze and whatever they've won as well. But I do think having Saoirse McCartney in, I think that the Cork full forward line are very fast, they're very quick, and if the ball gets into them, they'll be lethal inside there. However, I do think down the other side, Rachel Hannafy for Galway is up getting player of the match in the semi-final. Darbyl Higgins was close to her in getting the player of the match. Darbyl Higgins scored a point against us in the quarter-final, which really solidified how good she is as a man marker and going up the field as well. So, and then you have the likes of Roisin Blackton that's in full back, who's been very consistent all year. So if you're looking at that then, and maybe the likes of the lighter player that obviously Katrina and Amy O'Connor and Orla Callan are a little bit lighter, you know, that if you're looking for the physicality, that Saoirse McCartney be a brilliant player to bring in and have as a target person, given that she's able to score so much in the last couple of games. She brings a different element to Cork's game as well when she comes on. So I would be thinking of bringing her out, using her as a weapon to come off the bench. But I think that Germanley isn't afraid to use his subs anyway, as we've seen in the last couple of games, and everyone's chomping at the bit to come in and prove a point as well, which is a really good sign of a good team.
Definitely is, yeah. And I suppose even another kind of an aspect of the Cork team which should be very, very interesting to see is like Hannah Looney in particular. She played number 5, obviously, the last wing back. She plays a midfield at times in the last 2 seasons. She played a wing forward against Waterford in the All-Ireland final last year as well. And now she's slotted in seamlessly into wing back. So is that a kind of another element to this Cork team, that these sorts of players are very, very good, that they can play anywhere? And probably the versatility of the team is another kind of an aspect to talk about as well when picking the team. And then you look at the bench as well. Clodagh Finn to come on, and she scored 1-5 this season coming off the bench. So the whole panel have really chipped in for Cork this season.
Yeah, definitely, I suppose. And like seeing like Izzy Regan going full back, like just shows versatility of the team. Eva Healy going out to midfield and herself and Ashton Thompson just working seamlessly together. And then there's always someone to fill in the gap, I think. Pamela Mackey come on, was brilliant again the last day. Or she's been starting, she was brilliant again the last day to go in for Mika Lan. And then you see the likes of Hannah then that's going from, she could play wing back, wing forward, or midfield. But I think Cork's half back then, it's just their strong point. You know, Laura Tracy knows when to push and when to sit. She knows when to cover the space, and she knows when to go up the lines, I suppose. She knows when to really go forward as well. And then she gives the freedom then for Hannah, who's very, very athletic, and Laura Hayes to go up and in the lines. Laura Hayes is chipping away with a couple of points every game. Hannah Looney comes in, will carry the ball and knows when to give it off to the girls that run off her, like Cliona Healy. Or into the full forward line as well. Like Joe, they're all just work very well together. I think that no matter who comes into the team, they have such a good system of play that they all know what their job is, and they all know that's what really is good about Cork. Like they all know what the job is. There's no Mayfailers on it, and that the 15 players are so evenly spread that like if one player goes down, that there's always someone else come in and fill in that gap. Like, you know, especially looking down that left side. Like if you're looking at Saoirse McCarthy and Laura Hayes down that left side, like, you know, it's going to be lethal. That's something that Galway are going to have to really target as well. That's going to be their launch pad from their half back line.
Definitely so, and we'll switch over to Galway now. Their journey to the final when we get to the All-Ireland on Sunday. They beat Dublin on the first day of the group stage by 17 points to 111. Drew against Wexford 2-15 apiece. Hammered down 6 goals and 27 points to 4 points. Beat Clare quite comprehensively in that game as well, 3-19 to 7 points. Lost against Cork in that game in Park Keeve, obviously. Beat Waterford 112 to 1-9, and then beat Tipperary by 1 goal and 12 points to 111 in the All-Ireland semi-final. They've averaged a score of 216 per game and conceded an average of 110 per game. Look at their scores. Carrie Dolan at the top there with 1 goal and 30 points. Niamh Mallon, an interesting player to mention on this podcast as well, with 3 goals and 20 points. Ailish O'Reilly with 2 goals and 10 points. Niamh Nyland with 111. Sabina Rabbit up there as well. Annie O'Donoghue both of 2-6 each. Niamh McPeak has 9 points on the board, and Orla McGrath has a total of 1-5 as well. Look at Galway in particular. There has been standout players in this championship, and they wouldn't have got there without some certain players. Firstly, at the forward line, Niamh Mallon coming in from down this year, 3 goals and 20 points, 3 goals and 14 points from play. She's been absolutely brilliant in this championship, and even against your good old selves, Waterford in the quarterfinal, was at that game in Croke Park as well. And every time the ball went up to the forwards, Niamh Mallon knew what to do when she was shooting and things like that. She was probably the ace of the pack that Galway needed in that forward line as well. And especially with Siobhan McGrath gone away travelling this year, it's a major boost to have Niamh Mallon in the team from a Galway point of view, coming down from down.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose, like, even you're looking at the semi-final, like such a tight game where they only barely got over Tipperary by a point. Niamh Mallon scored 2 points just before half time, then came out in the second half, then scored a goal straight away that really kept Galway in it. Like, you know, it was only, I think it was 111 to 110 in the semi-final that Galway scored. And if Niamh Mallon got 1-2 of it just at critical times to really give them a boost going into half time, they're only 2 points down, and then to get the goal from after half time to give them a point up. She's really a marquee player for them. Even she set up Niamh Kilkenny a couple of times when when Galway knew that they were going to strike the ball in long into their full forward line, they knew Niamh was going to hold it up, and Niamh Kilkenny then was running off the shoulder to get them little pop passes, and she came up with 2 points herself. So Niamh Mann is definitely a massive player that I suppose Cork going to really have to look at, try to contain. And like, even though we knew that going into semi-final, Tipperary knew that how much of a big player she was, given her performance against us, she still came out trumps and she still scored 1-2. So I definitely think that like she's very hard. Like, even when you're earmarked, the sign of a good player, even when you're earmarked and there is someone man marking you to still come up with them scores, it just showed how good of a player she is.
Definitely so, and even look at their defence as well. They've averaged a concession rate of 110 and conceded very low in some of the games, and that's been down to a few players in particular. That defence, like Derval Higgins, has been arguably Player of the Year form in the Camogie Championship this season. Roisin Black is one of the best fullbacks in the country, and this is a Galway team that have lost Siobhan Gardner, Emma Hillibert, Sarah Dervan, Shauna Healy, you name it, excellent defenders in that team. So how crucial have Derval Higgins and Roisin Black in particular, and Anya Keane at centre back, to be fair to her as well, how crucial have they been in this championship for Galway? Because to me, they've been absolutely superb.
Yeah, they've been brilliant. Like, we did a couple of attacks there in the first half of the Galway game, and we had a couple of goal scoring opportunities, and they just sniffed it out straight away. Rachel Hannafy got player of the match in the semi-final. Derval Higgins came up with a point against us, even though she was man-marked one of our players. She came up with a point against us in the quarter-final as well. And like, if you're looking at the likes of Cork and you're looking at, right, what way you're going to set up against them, you're going to look at, you're either going to go 15 on 15, or else you're going to go with a sweeper. Like, and if you're looking at, I suppose, Galway's full back line and Cork's full forward line, that's going to be a big lineup for that day then as well. Definitely, like, that's going to be a big show for them. So definitely, I think that Galway, if they do decide to go 15 on 15, that their full back line are just in such good form at the moment that they will give the Cork full forward line enough. Even though Cork have scored 10-25 between them from play, I think that will be a great jewels there in that game. But like, Rachel Hannafy just getting the hand in, Roisin Black, as we said, like, just really consistent the whole year. Like, there's nothing really gets past them. I don't think Cork are going to get the easy opportunities that they had for goals in the maybe perceived weaker teams during the year. And then Derval Higgins was, just up and down the field, scoring points, defending. She's been superb all year, to be fair to her.
Exactly, and even looking around the middle of the park as well, Niamh Kilkenny's come back in this year. It has been absolutely exceptional for Galway. As you mentioned there, Niamh Hannafy in midfield alongside her has been brilliant as well. Eva Donoghue obviously scored a crucial goal against your side in the All-Ireland quarter-final as well. Anne-Marie Starr has come in this year and has been absolutely excellent as well. So how crucial have them kind of middle third players been for Galway this year, especially Niamh Kilkenny coming back this year after a long absence?
Yeah, look, I suppose if we're looking at the other side then, and you're looking at if Galway decide to go with a sweeper, I know Anya Keane was going to drop back in that gap against us in the quarterfinal, but then Ciara Hickey went into that gap in the semi-final, and she played very, very well there. But if you're looking on the other side, then Laura Tracy is going to do the same thing down the other side. So that half back line is very, very good. Anne-Marie Starr has been doing man marking. Niamh Hannafy has been doing a lot of man marking jobs as well in the quarter final, and getting through lots of work. But I think they're really their talisman for them is Niamh Kilkenny. Like, have to come back after having a baby last year and to be in such good form as she is in. She's running with the ball constantly. She's off the shoulder. She's constantly on the move, and a score from Niamh Kilkenny, 1 point from Niamh Kilkenny, could be worth 3 points from someone else for a Galway supporter. She's really their star player, and I think even given the fact she's had a baby and her success in 2019, 2020, she's even performed better than she has been ever before. So I think that'd be a big question mark over how will Cork nullify that as well, because I think that she will take a lot of mind in the All-Ireland final, and given her experience in All-Ireland finals and what to do as well.
We talked about the experienced players on the Galway team. Obviously, you mentioned Niamh Kilkenny there, and Roisin Black and Derval Higgins and Niamh Hannafy, obviously. But then about the inexperienced players at this level, I know they have played well in terms of scoring this year in the forward line. Niamh McPeak, Niamh Nyland, Owen Wayne Rabbit, Sabina Rabbit on the bench, to be fair to her as well. All young enough players coming into kind of a new kind of territory going to Sunday's final. Do you think that'd be a disadvantage to Galway compared to Cork? Like, Cork were in the All-Ireland final last year. They were in 2 years before that, in 22 and 21. 2021 as well. Do you think that would be kind of a disadvantage for the younger Galway players? And would they be would they get more experience as the game goes on Sunday? Would you be worried about the inexperience in the Galway team, judging by that?
No, I don't think that I would be worried about there, because like I was very impressed with Niamh McPeak in the quarterfinal. Like she got through an awful lot of work that went unnoticed against us, at centre forward. Like she was constantly tiresome for anyone that's playing centre back when we tried to drop someone in, whether we're playing a sweeper or not. So I thought she did a lot of selfless work. Sabina Rabbit only came off the bench and she scored 2-6 already in this championship. You have Orla McGrath as well to come on. We're looking at Cork's bench. We're also looking at the girls' bench as well. Niamh Nyland as well to come on. And then you have the likes of Carrie Dolan, Eilish O'Reilly, Niamh Mallon, Alan Rabbit as well, I suppose more experienced players, as well as the mix of youth as well. I don't think that Cahill would be afraid to put in the experience or the youth, depending on how you're playing. I'd say if you're playing well and training, that he'll give you the nod. So if you're looking at the likes of those at that bench, you wouldn't be afraid that Niamh McPeak or Alan Rabbit are not going to do the business, because obviously Cahill has them in for a reason if he's starting them ahead of like Sabina Rabbit and Orla McGrath.
Again, would you be worried from a Galway point of view? Look at the group stage game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Like I was listening to when you and Killian Wheeler were off the ball with Will O'Callaghan for the All-Ireland semi-final preview, and Killian made a very good point about Niamh Mallon being marked out of the game by Laura Hayes and Pamela Mackey down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh that day. Would that be a worry for Galway as well if Niamh Mallon is taken out of the game completely? Would they have a plan B after that to get a player on form? Would they bring Orla McGrath, for example, back into the team if Niamh Mallon tends to be struggling on Sunday because of the influence of the two Cork defenders?
Yeah, I definitely think that they haven't really shoot the lights out as opposed to what Cork have. Like, they haven't conceded a whole pile, but also haven't shoot the lights at the other side, and Niamh Mallon, like as super knowledge as she is as a player, she's only one player on a team of 5 other forwards that could be there and 2 other midfielders, So I do think that Galway haven't shoot the lights out, and I suppose they're missing Siobhan McGrath's gone away travelling as well, who would have been a marquee player for them, or a goal machine as well, we might say, in that sense. But you would be a little bit apprehensive of that, because I suppose Cork have their homework done. They're going to learn a lot from the group game, and I suppose as well, like they're so experienced in that, I know Niamh Mallon has played in many big games with them, but coming into an All-Ireland final day and having that pressure, I suppose, getting so having been that talisman for Galway, and then carrying that burden as well, it can weigh hard on some players. But I think it's the fact all over that Galway haven't really shoot the lights out that I think is more worrying than, I suppose, reliance on one player. I know they've had tougher competitions, I suppose, through the campaign, and had a tougher semi-final, but that they haven't really, I suppose, had that sense, had that really killer instinct for the goal machines that you've seen at the other side as well for Cork. Now, in saying that, in an All-Ireland final, I think Galway are very, very measured. They're very, very tactically aware, and there's never really too much in it. They never really get beaten by too much or too little in a game, or win by too little either, So I think that they're going to contain Cork well, but I'd just be worried on the other side. Like if you're looking at the likes of Cork, they're half backline what they're scoring, like Laura Hayes, Hannah Looney. Then you're looking at the likes of midfield, Aoife Healy and Ash Thompson, the work they get through. The players are going to come off the bench, and then the likes of Saoirse McCarthy got player of the match then as well in semi-final. Like Saoirse McCarthy coming on, Amy O'Connor, Katrina Mackey. We could end a endless list of players, and then you're looking, if you're a Galway back and you see another good player coming on that's got scoring 1-5 off the bench, and another good player coming on, it's going to be very, very hard for them.
And even look at the defence from a Cork point of view as well. You mentioned earlier on the chat that Izzy O'Regan has done really, really well at fullback, and Maeve Callahan might actually come back in after a long-term injury. If Maeve is fully fit, in your opinion, do you think it'd be worth a punt from Germany to put Maeve Callahan into fullback and to put Izzy along the wings? What would you think about that? Or would you have the confidence to put Izzy at fullback, considering her performances this season?
I think that Maeve Callahan is a super, super back. Like, I've had many battles over the years with Maeve. We're usually the ones that are put on each other over the years, and I think she's a super player. She's very fit, she's athletic, and she's very, very tough as well, and she's very comfortable on the ball, getting short puckouts. She's very, very comfortable on the ball. It's very hard to find a weak link in her game. However, coming to an All-Ireland final day, I think that looking at the strength and depth of Cork's panel, I don't think that Germany's going to change anything. I think they are so steady in themselves and so confident in themselves. They know what they're going to bring, and they've brought it to every game. So I don't think they're going to come up with any tricks, or they don't need to come up with any tricks, because they're that strong and they're going that well, I suppose, in their whole campaign. Now, I do think if a change needs to be done, he'd be the first one to put it on for Maeve Cahalane, but I do think Izzy Regan is playing very, very well there. She was playing the half-back line last year, and it just shows the versatility of all the players, that they can play in different positions. Hannah Looney, wing back to wing forward, last year wing back. Izzy goes full back. It's very specialised positions we're talking about as well, like a full back line, as opposed to Cork's running game as their half-back line. You nearly need to be a forward playing their half-back line, because they do more shooting than they do nearly defending, because they're just that good. So to do that as a player, and what she's up doing to win and probably mark the best forwards in the country, it's just shows testament to Izzy as her as a player, that she's able to do that and do that so well at the moment.
You mentioned a very good point about Cork doing more shooting than defending so far in the championship, but Galway have most obviously improved as the championship has gone on. Could this be a disadvantage to Cork if the likes of Niamh Mallon are on fire, if Carrie Dolan's on fire, if Niamh McPeak is on fire at centre forward, if Aoife Donoghue is on fire? Would that be a disadvantage to Cork, that they come up against a team that they haven't come up against so far in the championship, and they could get blown away on Sunday? I know Cork are performing well, but there is the argument that they haven't played anyone as of note yet. So is that kind of a concern for Germany going Sunday?
I think the only way that Galway are going to get some joy out of Cork is to get in their face, I suppose, try to ruffle their feathers a little bit, because trying to out-hurl Cork or outplay their game it's just not really going to work, because they're heads and shoulders above every other team at the moment from what I've seen and played against this year, So I think that Galway are going to have to come at the best game, and they're going to have to try to ruffle a few feathers. Liz Dempsey's refereeing it on Sunday. She'll have a lot of physicality go in the semi-final, so hopefully she'll do the same for a better spectacle in the game on Sunday, and I think that would suit Galway a bit more, so that they can get away with a little bit of extra tug and extra pull and extra stuff off the ball, and getting into Cork's face to ruffle their feathers, I suppose. Having not played any, I suppose, very, very strong teams, that could be a chink in their armour, I suppose. You saw in the first ball in what Dublin did when they sent it into Emma Flanagan in the semi-final, and she won a penalty. She caught it in the air, and they won a penalty from it. Dublin did straight away. I know they didn't convert it, but it was just a different element of play that I suppose Cork weren't used to, getting that long direct ball in. Most teams tried to kind of do the running game against them. So I do think maybe that could be a trick up Colin Murray's sleeve that he might try to do. Maybe like Sniamh Hannafy, Carrie Dolan has been winning puckets for them all year, to maybe throw something at Cork that they haven't experienced yet, and try to get some good at that or some breaks at that, not to be just over-reliant on Niamh Mallon in there, but I do think Cork are just so well drilled that they're very, very adaptable to it. But I do think that coming into that final, I think that Galway had a change now where they're underdogs, and they're going to relish in that underdogs tag, which they haven't probably had coming into finals before, because they've always been the form team coming into it. And I do think that will work in their favour, because this is nearly like a free throw, because everyone is kind of building up Cork and how great Cork are going to be, and they're going to do 2, 3, 4 in a row, And I think that that's the kind of rock you perish on them when you take your foot off the pedal, or you mightn't have had the harder games coming into it. And what better team to put up to them on Sunday? Only Galway, they've had nip and tuck battles with over the years,
Is it crucial from a Galway point of view too that Colin Murray finds the right player for Dervla Higgins to go on? Because Dervla's been absolutely outstanding in this championship. Who would you put Dervla Higgins on? Would you put him on Amy O'Connor? Would you put on Orla Cahalane, given her semi-final performance? What would be the best matchup for Dervla Higgins in this final, do you think?
I think that he'll go with Dervla on Amy O'Connor, and I think Rachel Hannafy will go on to Orla Cahalane, and then Roisin Black will take Katrina Mackey in the full back or full forward line. That's the way I think he'll set up. I think Dervla is just a fierce competitor, I suppose. She'll try to put Amy O'Connor on the back foot as well by going up the field, taking on ball. She's very, very physical, and she's very, very strong. Amy O'Connor is light and fast. That's the only thing now. So I think Dervla will try to contest every first ball with her, try to beat her out to the ball, I suppose, or any crossy ball that's coming in. I think Dervla will try to get out in front of her far. and try ruffle her feathers a little bit. And then like Rachel Hanfield got player of the match in the semi-final. She's very, very fast. She marked me in the quarter-final, very, very fast, very quick, well able to read the game, comfortable on the ball as well. And I think that Orla Catalan also could be, people might be taking the eyes off her a bit, even though she scored 2-2 in the semi-final. I think the weight will probably be on Amy O'Connor, given that she's a free taker and stuff like that. So I do think that Rachel Hannafy will relish in that opportunity to mark Orla Catalan and probably nullify her and even work on her own game going out the field. But I do think Dervla will be on Amy. That would be my own suspicion anyway, and Rachel will be on Orla.
On the other side of the field then, would you say that Laura Hayes will be the girl to mark Niamh Mallon in your opinion, and who goes on Carrie Dolan then, or would you do a kind of a double man marking job, what Cork did at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and put Paolo Mackie as well as Laura Hayes on Niamh Mallon?
I don't know now, to be honest with you. Like, I think that Pamela Mackey's often done with the man marking jobs in there, to be fair. Like, I do think that maybe it could be Pamela Mackey, because she was the one that was in the edge of square last day as well against Cork. I don't think that Carrie is going to go into the full forward line, given how much pocket she won and how much Galway want to get on prime possessions and try and nullify Cork's half back line. I do think Carrie will start out on the wing, and I'd be matched up with Laura Hayes or Hannah Looney. But I do think probably Hannah Looney, if we're trying to nullify Carrie Dolan, will work, because Germanlin want to get Laura Hayes on as much ball, go down that wing, really target that wing with Saoirse McCarthy and Laura Hayes. So I think he'd be trying to keep Laura Hayes as free as possible, and try to get her up and down that field, and then maybe leave the man marking jobs likes of Pamela Mackey in the full back line, and maybe Hannah Looney if someone needs to be picked up in around the half forward line.
Would it be worse Cork getting somebody to pick up Aoife Donoghue, considering her influence in the championship so far?
Yeah, definitely. I think that if we're to look at it probably, I think that they will probably try to look at Carrie Dolan and Niamh Mallon, and then they'll probably leave each to the others pick up a bit. I think if Aoife Donoghue's getting on a bit of ball, Aoife Donoghue could start now. As Carrie Dolan and Niamh Mallon a little bit more predictable, because Niamh Mallon's going to start in the forward line and Carrie Dolan's going to start probably in the half forward line, unless Carl pulls a hat out of the bag and maybe says we're going to put the two of them in the full forward line and try to get at them for the first few minutes, maybe try to get at Cork. But I do think Aoife Donoghue could be anything from midfield line, because you've seen Niamh Hannafy slot into that half back line as well for Galway. Galway, after you won't know really what Galway team are going to come out until, let's say, the ball is thrown in, because even when we were playing in the quarter final, we were waiting for the team, and usually the name were on Friday night, and we didn't get to hear till just before the game, you know. So I'm sure it's one of Colin Murray's tricks that he's going to try pull out of the hat as well on Sunday. But I do think it'll depend whether Aoife is influencing the game or not. I think she's a super player. She got player of the match in the quarter final. I do think she needs a lot of minding, but I think that Cork are so confident in their play at the moment that they're not going to worry too much about it unless she's influencing the game massively. I think that Aoife Healy and Aisling Thompson are going so well at midfield, so that if Niamh Kilkenny and Aoife Donoghue start midfield, that they'll be able to, I suppose, sort it out between them. Even the likes of Laura Tracy that's going centre back, if, say, for example, Niamh McPeak floats out a bit, they're so good and so well drilled that Laura just slip back into the pocket. Saoirse McCarthy will come slip back into midfield, and then Orla Catalan will come out to there and out to the wing forward line. Then Aisling Thompson will fill in the gap for her. Like, you know, that's how well rehearsed they are. So I don't think that they'll put anyone on her until she starts causing maybe a little bit of bother. But they will try to stop Galway's running game, I suppose, from the midfield line with Aoife Healy. And you could see Aoife Healy even, like, you know, she's shouldn't be the most, I suppose, going forward the ball or to shoot her the team, or she's not going to shoot the lights out. I think Aisling Thompson will control and, I suppose, do a lot of communication around the midfield line. But I do think Aoife Healy, if someone needs to pick up, she's either going to pick up Niamh Kilkenny or Aoife Donoghue in the midfield line. I think that'll be her job for today anyway.
And just finally, before prediction, do you think Cleona Healy and Fiona Keating, for example, would play a big part in this game? You mentioned Saoirse McCarthy might drop back into midfield, but how do you think Fiona Keating's running game will be dealt with by the Galway defence?
Yeah, Fiona Keating is like an underrated player. You know, she's an unorthodox style of running with the ball and an unorthodox style of shooting. But like, she's after scoring this year 1-7 from play already. You know, she runs straight down hard at the defence. If Galway are playing the sweeper, Cork are definitely going to utilise that. They're so good at picking out the small passes, not even the 20, 30-yard passes, the 10-yard passes to get them into space, to get them out of trouble. And that's where they'll get Cliona Healy and Fiona Keaton on the ball to run with the ball and run at the Galway defence. I think that's where Galway be in a little bit of trouble, because they're very strong, they're very physical. But when they're run at, they are a little bit vulnerable. When Tipperary got the running game going with them, they were like a little bit susceptible to it. So I do think getting those girls on the ball, and I think Fiona Keaton will have a massive part to play, depending whether Anya Keane drops back or Ciara Hickey drops back. Cliona Healy or Fiona Keaton could really storm into the game, because that'll be an extra person free, in which one of the Galway full forward line will have to drop the half forward line and back out the field again. So I do think those girls will pick up a lot of loose ball, because Galway will be preoccupied with the other stronger players that have gotten on, I suppose, more of a score sheet, to be fair.
So at the end of all that, who you calling to win this game? Will it be Cork or will it be Galway? Galway for the first time since 2021, or will it be Cork for the first time, obviously, since last year? Will Cork do 2 in a row?
I think that given their consistency all year, given their performances, I suppose they've only conceded 1-5 per game, and then they've scored 3-18 per game. I think that I don't think they're going to get up to those levels against Galway in an All-Ireland final. However, I think Galway will be too cute for that. I do think Cork are going to shade it marginally. I think Colmurray again will be relishing in the underdogs tag, and will throw the kitchen sink at it in a bid to get a free chance at it. I think everyone tipped Tipperary for the semi-final, and Galway came out, won it by a point. Their experience really stood over the line in the semi-final. So I don't think there's going to be much in it, but I do think there's big performance out of Galway. I think they're been underrated throughout the year, because they've had the harder games through the quarterfinals, semi-finals, etc. But each time they've risen to the occasion, and they've gotten a couple of points over the line, despite their injury woes. But I do think it's Cork's game to lose, given their firepower off the bench and how well they're just been drilled in their gameplay. I don't think they'll panic. I think they'll adapt to it, and I think that it's their game to lose, but only marginally. I don't think it's going to be a write-off like I suppose last year's All-Ireland final for us, to be fair. But I think that Cork will marginally win it.
Yeah, I'd probably go for Cork as well to win this final, and they complete the 2 in a row. Obviously, Ger Manley is managing the team this year, was Matthew Toomey doing all the work last year, but Ger Manley might get his first All-Ireland title on Sunday. Of course, Galway will contribute to an amazing game, I'd imagine, but hopefully it will be a good game of Camogie. I think Cork will come out on top, so does Niamh, but we'll see what happens. Look at the All-Ireland Intermediate hurling or Camogie Championship final. It is Kilkenny's second team against Cork's second team on at 3 p.m. on RT2 in Croke Park. So this is quite an interesting one, Niamh, when you think about it. Kilkenny's A team, if you like, got knocked out in the quarterfinals of the championship this year by Dublin. Cork's second team, obviously, Cork's A team's on the high at the moment, going to the All-Ireland senior final against Galway. Their second team's in the intermediate final as well. Should be a good game just for players to put their hand up maybe for the senior team next year, especially for Kilkenny, who are probably an under par season this season.
Yeah, definitely. They have a lot of good players that are playing. From Danielle Marcy is top their scoring list there at the moment. She's been part in and out of the Kilkenny senior panel with a couple of years. Caroline Kennedy as well. They're all tipping away there. They're coming in as underdogs. I suppose they were delighted with the win in the semi-final. And I suppose they're really, really, relishing the fact that they're getting to an All-Ireland final, given the fact that Kilkenny have been knocked out in quarterfinals the last 2 years, So I do think they'll be delighted going into the game, and I do think there's a bit of a buzz around Kilkenny for the intermediate team. They've been thereabouts the last couple of years, but Cork are a whole different kettle of fish, I suppose, when they're coming. They've powered through the whole intermediate championship. They've really gotten the upper hand on most teams. They give a lot of even senior teams a run for their money. Lauren Homan's just absolutely phenomenal this year already. So although I think Kilkenny it'll be great for Kilkenny to get to a final and give the sport something to shout for it, and I do think other teams to be underrating them, but Cork this year, just in senior and intermediate, they're just really, really going through the whole championship and just nullifying all their opponents, really, to be fair.
And look,
I think it's obviously as well in that sense that it's I know that the intermediates and the seniors often train together on the same pitch, and it's kind of the whole environment that they have the whole bond that they have and the culture that they have down there. You know, you can see it across all their teams, and a lot of their players. Lauren Holman was playing senior there a couple of years ago. You know, they've all experienced at higher level and minor, or even in a senior team and an intermediate team as well. And they're used to getting to these finals every single year. So I do think that's going to stand to Cork on Sunday.
Do you think that was
I see I'm very biased towards Cork.
Oh, you'd have to be definitely, especially on this podcast.
I'm actually a Waterford woman, not a Cork man.
We have too many boys supporters down here. But look at the intermediate championship before we look at the scores and journeys to the final. Do you think what you said earlier about both teams training with the senior teams, the Kilkenny team, obviously the Cork team, in the second team's training with the first team, do you think that was an advantage for them rather than the likes of Offaly or Westmeath or Kildare or Kerry down in the intermediate championship, who've been just training by themselves more or less? And then you have Cork, who've been training with the A teams, or Kilkenny have as well, and you've other teams in that grade as well, and in junior, which we're going to talk about in a bit as well. So do you think that was an advantage rather than the likes of Offaly, Kerry, Kildare, all them teams?
Yeah, definitely a big advantage. And I suppose they're talking about that now in the structure of the championship next year and getting rid of the second teams for the Camogie championship next year, because of the advantage that the, I suppose, so-called top 3, top 4 teams are getting over the rest of the teams. You know, like, I suppose more money is going to get more publicity. It's going to get more better standard trainers. It's going to get better standard players. And I do think it is a big advantage. Now, you can't down Cork for it because they have a massive pool of people, like Tipperary, the same thing as well, and Kilkenny. You know, Kilkenny a little bit smaller now as well, but you know, they have a good pool of players to pick from. And I suppose hurling is in the DNA the last couple of years. You know, like, they religiously live and breathe it. You know, so I do think it's a big advantage, and it is unfair on the likes of Offaly and Kerry. And you know, Kerry have narrowly been beaten a couple of times this year already as well, and trying to come up and break through the ranks. But you have to give hats off to Cork. Like, you know, I was listening to the podcast earlier on, and Jim O'Connor was talking about when she played a couple of years ago, and they had the heart rate monitors on, and she, one of the managers from Crown said that one of the girls' heart rate is nearly going to have a heart attack, that her heart rate is through the roof, for example, before an All-Ireland final, like, you know. And there's very few teams in the country that are going to have that level of sophistication, never mind this year, never mind a couple of years ago, you know. So if girls are susceptible to that, and there's money going into that, which, you know, like, it's hard to get money into Camogie. Paddy Murray did a great job in doing it, Germanley, Matthew Toomey, etc. You know, they've all got good sponsorship in, but like, it is that level of professionalism a little bit more, and more girls want to play it, and there's more publicity around it. So I do think it is an advantage, but you can only play teams that are in front of you. And I suppose, given Cork's record, you know, they have such a big catchment there. Like, it'd be unfair to just give them one team and miss out on so many other girls that have a chance to play on the county jerseys that might be as good as other girls in other counties that, you know, that might be in a perceived weaker county that might be able to wear that would be able to wear the jersey, but there'd be girls in Cork that wouldn't get a chance to do that then as well. So there's pros and cons for it.
Definitely so, yeah. And look at their there's two sides journeys and scores to the final as well. Look at Cork first. They beat Westmeath by 2 goals and 15 points to 2 goals and 13 points. Beat Offaly by a point, 15 points to 111. Beat Clare 6 goals and 13 points to 1-5. Beat Wexford 114 to 1-5. Beat Galway 317 to 9 points, and beat Offaly 213 to 13 points. They've averaged a score of 216 per game and conceded an average of 110 per game. Look at their scores, as Niamh mentioned earlier as well. Lauren Holman's in absolutely brilliant form at the moment with 7 goals and 40 points. Fiona Dooley there with 4 goals and 11 points. Niamh O'Regan with 2 goals and 8 points. Emer Duggan up there with 9 points, and Cleona O'Callaghan up there with 1-6 as well. Look at Kilkenny's journey to the final. They beat Carlow 2 goals and 13 points to 8 points. They beat Antrim by 5 goals and 30 points to 3 points. Beat Kerry 214 to 12 points. Drew against Dublin 210 to 113. Beat Meath 311 to 10 points. Beat Kildare 315 to 6 points, and beat Kerry once again 214 to 212. They've averaged a score of 314 per game and conceded an average of 10 points. And as Niamh mentioned as well earlier about Kilkenny scores, Daniel Morrissey's up there with 56 points. You have Caroline Kennedy with 8 goals and 10 points. Carlisle Comerford with 3 goals and 5 points. Niamh Crowley with 3 goals and 4. Rachel Dowling up there with 10 points. And Emma Mulhall and Lord Ronan up there with 1-3 each as well. So look at the names there, like Lauren Holman seems to be doing well this season. So does Cleona Dooley. From the Kilkenny side, Daniel Morrissey's hitting the lights out, including one sideline cut, I think, against Bees in the championship along the way as well. Caroline Kennedy, 8 goals so far, which is an incredible number. So there is going to be good players on show.
Sorry, I missed the end of that. I think, Matthew, I saw that Caroline Kennedy scored, 8-10, and Daniel Marcy scored the sideline and all. Yeah, do you know, like, Daniel Marcy's having the year of her life. She's been in and out of the Kilkenny senior panel the last couple of years. I've played against her a couple of times. She's a super player, lightning fast, you know, and she's really found her niche there in the Kilkenny intermediate team. Do you know, she scored 56 points, so she scored 36 of them from frees and sidelines, but 20 points from play, you know, shows how well she's going. Caroline Kennedy's obviously the goal threat there with 8-10 scoring from it. You know, she's from the South Kilkenny clubs, like, you know, there's plenty of girls on that team. Afton Grace, another girl that's on the team. Niamh Crowley's from Muncoyne as well. They're all in around the same time. They played each other a couple of years. You know, they know what way each other plays, and the likes of Caroline Kennedy, I suppose, take a lot of mind, and that's who Cork are going to be trying to target, like, as well as Daniel Morrissey, who's going to buy out a few scores, whether it's frees or from play. Caroline Kennedy scoring 8-10, like, you know, it's just been, like, I suppose, phenomenal for the year. Like, she's well on the way to getting an All-Star this year, and, you know, she's having a really good season.
And I was listening to Sarah O'Donovan, the former Cork player, and off the ball before the chat here, and she was mentioning that the B team at Kilkenny could give the A team a lot of new players, because the A team seems to be in transition this season. Denise Scott going down to Australia, obviously. Grace Walsh obviously retiring at the end of the year. So is this a chance for the Kilkenny players in this sort of team, the second team, to put their hands up for selection next year if they could win this intermediate championship?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I suppose Kilkenny have had, since Brian Downell have left, then they had a new manager in this year. Obviously, Brian Downell left after quarter-final. They reached quarter-final this year. They're missing some marquee players. Denise Gall is gone. Claire Phelan is retired, who were, you know, super players again. Grace Welch is going to be gone for again next year. You know, Sarah Crowley got injured this year during the year. She was flying it in the league up until then, you know. So they are very much in transition. There's a couple of younger players coming up. You couldn't even pick, I suppose, when we played them during the year, what their team was going to be, because they've had such a wide variety of players coming in and been tried and tested as well. So I do think it's definitely a chance for the intermediate team to really, I suppose, put their mark down, like Karen Kennedy, Daniel Morrissey, all these players that are going to try, I suppose, make a mark. There's going to be a new management in for Kilkenny, and I suppose what better way to impress them than on the biggest stage in an intermediate final there on Sunday.
So who you think is going to win on Sunday? Do you think it'll be Cork, or do you think it'll be Kilkenny?
I'd hate to go for Cork again, because I've backed them for the senior and kind of make them run away with things. I do think that Kilkenny obviously have been going very well this year. They were playing against before us in Nolan Park. They look very impressive. I think it'll be a very tight game. I don't think it'll be run out either way. I think that the one thing against Cork, and I know Gemma O'Connor alluded to it as well during this year, you know, it's never really good when two Cork teams never really come out victorious on All-Ireland final day for Cork. I don't know, is it the weight of it, or the fact maybe two teams train together and there might be an overlap in management. I know that has been the case a couple of years ago with Paddy Murray as well. I know there's different managers involved now, but it hasn't really gone their way. But I think the fact that Cork are probably going to win the senior, I'll tip Kilkenny to edge it this in the semi-final, but only marginally. I think that they really have fire in their bellies and the support there as well for them. They really have fire in their bellies to try, I suppose, get one up on Cork, given the rivalry the last couple of years. But I think there'll be marginally. It couldn't even end up in a draw this year. For this game, depending on what Kilkenny team turn up, like, you know, the consistency that Cork going to come with, and whether Kilkenny can nullify that and, I suppose, work on their game. It'll depend on the big players like Caroline Kennedy and Danielle Morrissey, and the backs. Can the backs contain Laura Homan and those for Cork as well?
It has happened before, the intermediate, the senior Cork teams winning as recently as 2018. So history might repeat itself. We'll have to see on Sunday, I'd imagine. But yeah, you'd have to say Kilkenny. Like, Kilkenny are in brilliant form at the moment. Cork are too, obviously, with Lauren Holman scoring a lot. But I think Daniel Morrissey, Caroline Kennedy in particular, will put their hands up for Kilkenny next year, and they should get over the line in this game. And looking finally at the Premier Junior final, we have another B team in action here, plus a new team, more or less, Tipperary against Laois in the All-Ireland Premier Junior Camogie final at 1:05 on RT2 live from Croke Park on Sunday as well. Laois are only in their fourth Premier Junior final. They only won the Junior Championship once, and that was 2015. They lost two finals in 2013 and 2014. Tipperary, obviously, they're on the crest of a wave with their first team. Obviously, their second team lost the final last year to Clare. But for Laois, like, if they were to win this Premier Junior, that would be amazing scenes in the county, I'd imagine.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like, I think there'd be great atmosphere. Similar when we got to the All-Ireland final last year, there was a great support went up because we hadn't gotten there in a very, very long time. So we had great support and great following going up there. I've no doubt that on Sunday, Laois should bring a massive crowd and a massive support, given the fact that, like, it's the girls haven't been there, and the fact that there hasn't been much, I suppose, hype around the male team or the Laois football team this year, really. So I do think there'll be a massive crowd there, and I do think that it could be looking at the likes of the Offaly Brigade, that that it's a 16 man nearly on the sideline with Laois on Sunday. It'd be great scenes for them if they were to get over the line. I do think, though, given the experience of last year's defeat for Tipperary, and I've seen a couple of the games, one of my friends actually on the panel this year, Emma O'Halloran, and I do think that I've seen a couple of games. I've seen they've beaten Kerry in the intermediate. I've seen a couple of challenge matches where they've played intermediate teams, and they've been very, very strong. I know their semi-final against Armagh wasn't very convincing, but it was a bad day up in Ashbourne, and I do think that Tip will have a margin here. I just know from seeing them, I suppose, in games already this year, and I think that they'll have a little bit extra fire in their belly from losing the final last year.
Look at their journey and scores for the final both sides. So starting off with Tipperary, obviously, they beat Down. That was an amazing score in the first day out. 9 goals and 24 points to no score. That was above in the rag. That was an absolutely incredible score in its own right. They beat Tyrone 1 goal and 27 points to 1 goal and 8 points. Beat Wicklow 3-17 to 1-6. Beat Armagh 2 goals and 12 points to 1-4. And then beat Armagh, as Niamh mentioned there, the All-Ireland semi-final, 15 points to 1-11. They've averaged a score of 5-13 per game and conceded an average of 1-5 per game. And look at their scores there. This is the scores list without the Wicklow game. The Wicklow game doesn't seem to be reported anywhere. So this is the scores without the Wicklow game added in. Jenny Grace has 2 goals and 27 points this championship. Sinead Maher has 2 goals and 13 points. Emma Flanagan has 1 goal and 8 points. Ava O'Dwyer has 1 goal and 5. Caroline Shanahan up there with 2 goals and 1 point as well. Look at Laois's journey to the final. They beat Cavan there by 3 goals and 15 points to 6 points. They beat Limerick 2 goals and 16 points to 2 goals and 7 points. Beat Mayo, another ridiculous scoreline, 9 goals and 15 points to 1 goal and 2 points. Beat Roscommon 4 goals and 13 points to 2 goals and 9. And did beat Cavan in the All-Ireland semi-final, 2 goals and 16 points to 3 goals and 7 points. They've averaged a score of 4-13 per game and conceded an average of 2-5 per game. And look at their scores there. Amy Collier at the top of the list there with 5 goals and 34 points. Gráinne Delaney with 11 points. Aisling O'Dea with 2 goals and 5 points. Andrea Scully with 1 goal and 6. You've Ava Cost there with 2 goals and 3 points. Susie Delaney with 1 goal and 3 as well. And interesting enough, Susie Delaney, if memory serves me correctly, was on the UL Ashbourne Cup winning team earlier on the year. So if she wins this Premier Junior final, it'd be double celebrations at the Delaney household, I'd imagine. So yeah, so good scores in that. Probably the main threat for Laois is probably Amy Collier, who's been very good at the frees so far. And for Tipperary, probably Jenny Grace has been the standout player for Tip in this championship.
Yeah, look, I suppose Amy Collier scored 5-34 this year. I know 1 penalty, but like that's still 4 goals from play. As well as all her frees that she's actually have won as well. I think that Laois have had the harder run into it. I think their games have been a lot tighter, to be fair to them. I know that Bill Mullally is over the Tipperary team, and he was previously over the Tipperary senior team, and we actually played them a couple of years ago as well. So he's a wealth of experience there, in big games and managing at that high level, to be fair to him. I do think that Tipperary have more of a spread of scores. I think they've, after getting more of a use of their panel, I suppose, throughout the year, they had that luxury to do that. Even not even down was able to score against them in the first round of the championship. You know, like that just shows how convincing they were. A little bit of doubt probably would have crept in against Armagh last week, when I suppose Armagh were a strong and physical team and didn't give Tipperary their way. I suppose it was the break as well, the long break between games as well, didn't really help Tipperary. But given the fact that when they're playing games consistently, from watching them this year, when they're playing games consistently and they have the channel matches, even for the extra 15 or the extra 16 players that be there, they kind of go a lot better, you know, and they're more in tune. I think that a little bit of a gap then kind of didn't really stand them in the semi-final. So I do think that was a bit of an outlier in the rest of their championship games. But yeah, definitely Amy Collier will be definitely a big player for them. But Tipperary are very, very physical. They'll have their players earmarked. Bill will have his players earmarked to mark and try and nullify them, I suppose. And in the intermediate or in the junior, as opposed to the, I suppose, the seniors, that there is definitely the 2 or 3 marquee standout players that are going to win and get over the line for them. You know, Sophie Pembroke is playing superbly in centre back all year. Their half back line for Tipperary are very, very good. You know, they really drove it on even in the semi-final as well. And then their forward line is kind of constantly interchangeable. They have Laura Shinners, Emma Flanagan, Sinead Mard. All these players are popping up with 2-10, 1-8, etc. in all the games so far. Now I know they haven't played as a competitive team, but they're still very, very good. And then you're looking at the likes of Laois then, where Grania Delaney scoring 11 points. Ash O'Dea, who's super player again, like, you know, she's been involved with a couple of years ago on Ashburn teams as well. She'll be definitely relishing in the occasion as well, and she'll need a lot of mine in Laois's forward line.
Definitely so. And just before we get on to the prediction for this, I was doing a bit of research before the chat here, and there hasn't been an A team to win the Premier Junior Championship since 2020 with Armagh. It's been second teams ever since then, obviously including Clare last season. Would you see that as a worry in terms of developing camogie in the smaller counties, such as the likes of Carlow, Tyrone, Armagh, Cavan, Mayo, all these counties? Would you see that as a worry that the A teams as such haven't won Premier Junior Championship since 2020?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think for the promotion of camogie, as opposed to ladies football around the country, you know, like there's a lot more ladies football teams, a lot more competitive teams at that high standard. I just know from we won the junior in 2011, and then we won the intermediate in 2015, and then we're up to senior now. Got to senior Ireland final last year in 2023. There is a massive gap between the intermediate, the junior to intermediate. It's not so much of a gap, but between intermediate and senior is massive gap. So you really need the likes of the smaller counties with only one team to really push on. And I think it can be demoralising for them when the likes of the stronger teams, like the Tipperary, Kilkenny, Cork, have their second teams out. I suppose that was done away with in the men's a couple of years ago, having second teams and whatnot out. You know, maybe there might be the way to go forward for camogie in general to promote the game would be having an under 20 championship. I don't know what way it'll tie in now with fixtures as well. But you know, to get the bridge the gap there for the younger players to get up to that standard as well. I suppose when we're going into talking about integration, we're talking about the GA, talking about being all one association. I suppose this will all come to head in 2 or 3 years' time when there will be no really second teams. I don't really think, if it's all going to be merged into one. But I do think it is a bit of a worry just in relation to promotion of the game. Like, you know, like I know since we were junior, there was only maybe I think 16 club teams in our county. Now since we're up senior and we're competing at senior, there's up to nearly 40 now at the moment, like, you know, but you need that and you need to be winning to promote the game in your county. Whereas the likes of Carlow or Armagh aren't winning, you know, even when we went up to Antrim this year, you know, like they're getting beaten by hockey stores in the senior, like it's no good for the promotion of the game. As regards promotion of the game, it is very, very hard for the so-called weaker teams to really make the breakthrough. You even see the likes of Joe McDonagh with the men's as well, like, you know, to try to get up to that senior status, it's very, very hard, like, you know. So to promote the games, hurling and camogie across the country, it has to be, you have to bridge that gap for the rising teams. I know Michael Duggan is doing tremendous work and awfully doing it, like, you know, really promoting the game, but it's very hard, I suppose, on a limited budget for the other teams to get up to that standard, you know.
Definitely so, yeah. And who would you predict to win this game? Do you think Laois will get over the line for the first time since 2015, or do you think Tip will do it?
I think it'll be phenomenal for Laois to get over the line. It'll be a great boost for Camogie and great booster in their county. But I've just seen so much of Tipperary this year and just seen how convincing they were. Now, the only thing that would give me a slight bit of doubt would be the semi-final against Armagh. I know they were beating other teams by cricket scores, but they really, really went down to the wire in Ashburn that day. I was up at the game, and it will put a little bit of doubt for Tipperary. But I think given the fact that they're after getting to the All-Ireland final again, they're missing a lot of players from last year that were even on that All-Ireland final team from last year. Tipperary were, and they're still thereabouts after beating teams by massive scores already this year. It shows the strength and depth of the panel. And I do think the fact that Bill Mullally is such a good operator and so good for Tipperary Camogie in general, and I know his own daughter plays as well, that I do think tactically he'll be so tuned in and really ready for the game. I think they've had their sights on this since getting beaten in the All-Ireland last year, so I think it'll be Tip's game to lose. But I do think Laois should really relish the fact that they're getting to an All-Ireland final, get a great boost in the county, and if the 16th man get behind them, there could be only a couple of points in it if Laois can stay with them and try and nullify the Tipperary goals going in try keep them within a couple of points, I suppose, and keep it tight for the first 10 minutes.
Should be an interesting game, all right. I'd probably go for Laois.
In the end, probably Tipperary.
Yeah. I'm going to go for Laois this one. I just feel like maybe the fans will get behind them. I just have that feeling that Laois might get over the line and get to the intermediate championship next season, and it will be obviously great for the county if they manage to do so. Just before we end the podcast, actually, Niamh, what do you think of the Camogie Championship overall this season in terms of a promotion standpoint, in terms of a quality standpoint? What do you think of it yourself? And are you hoping for a big attendance on Sunday for the finals?
Yeah, you'd be hoping for big attendance, the likes of 30,000 plus again. I know we hit a record amount last year when ourselves got into the All-Ireland final. I suppose that was just such the buzz around Waterford, and you can't ignore that fact as well. Going into an All-Ireland final for Laois, as we alluded to already, having that extra player like that really got us over the line against Tipperary in Nolan Park in the semi-final, and they really continued on to support us in Croke Park. But there's been good games, definitely good games all through the championship. I think that we only get to see snippets of it in the likes of the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, and they're quite low-scoring games, whereas there's been phenomenal games all through the group stages. I know there's been big scores between the so-called bigger teams, and then there's been tighter games as well. So, hopefully that will be something to look at, that there can be more group games shown, or more promotion of it to be shown, more accessible for people to be able to see it and not just see the scores or whatever to say, see the likes of Dervla Higgins, the great battle that she put in, and Rachel Hannafy, and these kind of things. Ashley Maher playing a phenomenal role this year in Dublin, for example. That there will be more promotion of it in that sense. But there is a gap, I still think, between the likes of the so-called weaker counties, and the promotion of the game for them. It's very demoralizing for some teams to be going out and getting beaten by 20, 30 points in games, and then only so-called a certain amount of teams then being up at a high level. So I'd be hoping for a big attendance at it, but it's still a phenomenal spectacle. I think that even the ladies football final, there's a lot more kicking in it. There's a lot more, there's a lot more 50-50 balls, and it's very interesting to watch. So I'll be hoping that on Sunday it'll be a bit of a better game than what we put up anyway last year, and it'll be a bit of a closer game anyway in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. So we're hoping for a very good day of action in the Camogie All-Ireland finals this Sunday. So that is a wrap on the podcast, and that is a wrap of the inter-county season in terms of previews this year. Thanks to Niamh for coming on to the podcast today. Thanks to Capture Athletics for sponsoring today's show. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff on YouTube. And on to the next show next week, which will start gradings for hurling and football teams next week in terms of a review of the whole season. We'll see you then, and take care.